What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Game 3 of this Best of 3 series in the Raidcall D2L League Season 3 between Alliance and Navi, and thank you for rejoining me. I've tried to fix out some of the technical issues. I've been reading the comments, and apparently there's been some instances of lag, so I've increased the bitrate, I've also increased the frame per second, and we'll see if that fixes it. If not, I might have to turn down some of the quality settings on my Dota 2, but I'm going to try to see if I can pump out my computer settings to max with these replay casts, because I mean it's going to definitely be a lot less intensive than using these settings in a live cast. But for replay casts, I definitely want to get the best possible quality out for your viewing pleasure. So hopefully it works. If not, I might have to turn down some of the graphical settings on my Dota 2, and we'll see if that manages to change any sort of behaviors of the programs. But anyways, this is Game 3 of this Best of 3 series between Navi and Alliance. If you have not watched the previous games, do click on the link below for the previous video. It won't have the video for Game 1, but you can just go back through the uploads on my channel and find Game 1. But basically in Game 1, Navi gave up Lone Druid, Phantom Assassin, and Magnus to Alliance, three of their trademark heroes, and they managed to just bulldoze Alliance to death with their really powerful teamfight lineup. Meanwhile, in Game 2, Alliance managed to take themselves Leicester as well as the Nature's Prophet, and they managed to just clobber Navi with those picks, and Navi really just did not look in a very strong position whatsoever in that game. So both these games, interesting, but not really been that exciting in terms of just tenseness, because the games have not really been that close.
5 seconds.
But still, it is nice to see high-level Dota being played, and as one of the problems banning out against these two teams is that these two teams are so very versatile, and it's difficult betting up against Alliance because Bulldog does have two very strong offlane heroes in the form of Nature's Prophet and Lone Druid, which are definitely significantly better than his other offlane heroes like Clockwork, Darkseer, Bounty Hunter, heroes of that nature. But if you ban out those heroes, then you leave open S4 getting a Barretter, Mate giving up a Lifesteal to Loda, and I think Lifesteal or Lone Druid will be the opening choice for Alliance. If I had to place a bet, I think it would be on Lone Druid because it's definitely one of Admiral Bulldog's trademarks. Although Navi did do an admirable job, no pun intended, shutting out Bulldog in Game 1. So that might be why Alliance actually went for the Leicester. And also, to prove me completely wrong, apparently. So Alliance going to secure themselves the Leicester. Leicester definitely had a huge impact in Game 1. He was ridiculously difficult for Navi to actually bring down. And we're going to have to see what Navi decides to do, as both Nature's Prophet and Lone Druid are left in the pool. So we'll see if Navi going to try to snag themselves one and give up the other, or if they're just going to let both through and try to get some picks that they want for themselves. And Navi, I think they're probably going to get a Rubik in this choice, just because Rubik was banned out in the first game in the first round of bans and picked up in the second game by Alliance with their first two picks. So I think Navi will probably open up with a Rubik, but we'll have to see what their second choice will be. And yeah, it's just so difficult drafting up against Alliance. They're just so damn versatile, and they have so many different heroes that can be really played at a high level. But Navi taking quite a while, drained through quite a bit of their reserve time, and if you look at the picks and bans, Wisp and Barrett are very stand bans by Navi, especially since they didn't have the first pick. Alliance banned out the Visage, the most trendy support in the game, as well as the Gyrocopter, and Gyrocopter has been pretty solid in Navi's games thus far. Havos has played a decent Gyrocopter. He played a really strong Gyrocopter in Game 1. In Game 2 he just got ganked way too often, and that Gyrocopter was not very effective whatsoever, but this ban is more geared to the fact that Navi likes to pick up Gyrocopter with their opening two picks, at least in this series, so Alliance respecting that, and also leaving a lot of strong heroes left in the pool, managed to secure themselves the Lifesteal, as you do see on your screen. And Navi deliberating, they don't really want to give up so many of Alliance's trademark heroes, but they're gonna pick up the Rubik. We'll see if they get themselves a Nature's Prophet, or if they're gonna get themselves some other different sort of hero, because I don't know. You saw in the last game, Nature's Prophet in conjunction with Lifesteal just means global ganks whenever possible, especially when Nature's Prophet does secure himself that Shadow Blade. You can just teleport Shadow Blade in and just do a lot of damage, but Lone Druid in conjunction with Lifesteal just does a lot of work as well in terms of pushing. So Navi actually chose to take the Darkseer, and Alliance managed to secure themselves Aki's Chen in conjunction with Admiral Bulldog's Nature's Prophet, so they have a really strong opening thus far. Three of their favorite heroes in the game, and Aki's Chen is just world renowned at this point. Admiral Bulldog's Nature's Prophet, definitely no slouch either. It's probably his second best hero after the Lone Druid, of course. And now Navi will have to worry about that Leicester and Fest Bomb, especially when Nature's Prophet does get that Shadow Blade, so they might need to get a carry who can escape or survive reasonably effectively. Otherwise, Havos could be in a very, very difficult situation like he was in last game where the Leicester and Fest bombs were just constantly placed upon him. Now we're going to get the Queen of Pain for themselves, so it looks like they want to take control of the mid lane, and I expect that their mid lane bans will, or their bans will include some of S4's stronger mid lane heroes, probably Puck, maybe Mag, I'm not too sure. Maybe they'll let the Mag through since Queen of Pain does do quite well against Magnus, but I hope that Navi does decide to ban out the Puck, since Puck, even though it is mostly an even lane, Queen of Pain does have a slightly better attack animation, has slightly better damage, but Puck can of course phase shift the Shadow Strikes and really drain away Queen of Pain's mana, but Puck just manages to kill Queen of Pain a lot easier at level 6 than Queen of Pain kill the Puck. So Navi gonna choose to ban out the Beastmaster, and we'll have to see what they decide to ban for. I think it's probably a lot easier banning out S4 heroes rather than EGM heroes, since Alliance are known to pick up weird and quirky supports. But we'll see. We'll see what Navi decides not to play against. They could try to ban out pushing supports like Leshrac as well, just because Alliance, with their opening 3 picks, definitely have the penchant to push, and Navi don't really have anything that can stop them outside of a high-level Darkseer Ion Shell. They don't really have too much anti-push, and you saw in the last game, Navi's lineup didn't really have much synergy whatsoever. They had Barret who would gank, they had Enchantress who would push, they had Gyrocopter who could teamfight. They really just did not have much synergy whatsoever, and Alliance were just able to exploit that in the early game. Managed to pick down 2 towers in the first 3 minutes, and this opening, keep in mind Alliance didn't have Chen in the last game, so this opening by Alliance can definitely make for a very, very strong push very, very early on, especially if Bulldog goes for the Ring of Basilius double clarity build like he did in the last game. Navi gonna ban out the Nyx Assassin, so they feared that Nyx Assassin, just doing a lot of work against Queen of Pain mana burn, does do quite a bit of damage to Queen of Pain, as well as Darkseer, and draining the mana renders those heroes essentially useless. But Queen of Pain, it definitely hurts a lot more since she does have lower HP pool, and she can perhaps get bursted down by a Nyx, especially with the teleporting Nature's Prophet and Lifestealer coming in, and just dealing out a whole bunch of damage right on the back of that Queen of Pain.
Reserve time.
Meanwhile, Alliance going to ban out the Keeper of the Light as well as the Enchantress. Smart bans in my opinion. They're banning out the Keeper of the Light because they want to obviously push very early on, and they're banning out the Enchantress so they don't get pushed very early on, since Navi doesn't really have the strongest pushing heroes. But Navi, right now, their first 3 picks do have a reasonable amount of damage. They have a decent measure of team fight, although Leicester doesn't really care about any of the spells on the side of Navi. So, thus far, I do like Alliance's game plan a bit more, but we're going to have to see how the last couple picks shape out before I can really say who has the advantage in the drafting phase, in my opinion. And keep in mind, it's my opinion. It doesn't mean anything else. And Alliance banning out the Alchemist, so not only banning out a carry that Avos could potentially play, also banning out the Acid Spray, which is ridiculously annoying for Chen, as well as the Nature's Prophet to push up against. And Navi, their pool is starting to get limited. They're going to be at the Leshrac, so that means I think Puck will be the immediate choice by Alliance right here, because that will give them a solid mid lane. So I'm not too sure about the bans by Navi, but you can definitely understand where they came from. The only thing I'm a bit worried about is the Beastmaster ban, although the Inner Beast aura does synergize very well with Alliance's entire pushing lineup. But yeah, Leshrac, a pushing support, could definitely put in a lot of work on Navi's towers in the early game. But banning out all these heroes did leave the Puck open for Alliance in the hero pool. And Puck, if he managed to pick himself up a fast dagger, then he can just blink in and really shut down the Queen of Pain in the duration of one Winning Rift, especially if Nature's Prophet and Lifestealer just back him up in terms of damage output. So I'm really liking Alliance's draft thus far, but we're going to have to see how Navi responds to this Puck choice. So they're going to pick up Jakiro, probably the second most defensive support in the game after Keeper of the Light, but still not very mobile, doesn't really have as safe way to utilize that damage. I mean, Ice Path does have a long range, but it doesn't do nearly as much damage, and Dual Breath, of course, doesn't have that much range, although it does do quite a bit of damage. And Alliance is going to secure themselves a Windrunner for EGM as a support capacity, and actually, if you go on Team Liquid, there was a very interesting article analyzing Alliance's draft in the G1 League, and some of the similarities that Alliance was noticed to have was that whenever they picked up Windrunner, it was always in the game with Nature's Prophet, so they can have a guaranteed shackle shot. And that's alright, we saw Windrunner phase out, just because teams are learning how to play against the shackle shot. They know not to hug so closely together or hug so closely up against a tree, so you don't really get those 2-man shackle shots as often. But with Nature's Prophet on your side, it's definitely a lot more easy to get that shackle shot. And meanwhile, Navi going to pick up the Morphling. Really interesting choice, as even in the old TI2 days, I never really saw Morphling being run by Navi. They choose to fight up against Morphling rather than pick it up themselves. But Morphling, I think, is a very, very solid choice in this game because he's very survivable up against Puck ganks as well as the Nature's Prophet and Lifestealer, and also can combat the Nature's Prophet split push to a certain degree, although he can't do it as quickly with the teleport coming in. He can definitely get his push going, and I have to think that in this game, if you saw the last Morphling game I cast with Lakel picking up a fast Ghost Scepter into a very heavy teamfight build, I think in this game Oos will definitely go for a Lincoln Sphere just to get as much mana regen as possible so he can split push his heart out, because Bulldog will get his split push going if you don't match get the Lincoln Sphere. You're going to have some way to deal with that. And I don't think team fighting will be the answer up against a Puck, a Chen, and a Lifestealer. So I think Host will have to go into that Lincoln Sphere build. And Morph does require a lot of mana in the early game, which is why I definitely saw him fade out quite a bit in terms of popularity. But interesting, the players and teams are going to have S4 playing one of his trademark heroes in the form of Puck. Looks like he was pulled a couple sets of regen. Yeah, Aki and EGM both going to pull him a set of regen so he can handle himself in the middle lane up against Queen of Pain. I wouldn't be surprised if Dendi actually got a set of regen from his supports as well. Aki is going to be playing his trademark Chan. Loda is going to be playing Lester, which he utilized to great effect in the opening game. EGM is going to be playing the winner, and Admiral Bulldog is going to once again be playing the Nature's Prophet. And this will probably be a defensive try. And Chen, he can do okay in the defensive trial, but I'm sure he wants to have that safety so he can get that fast level 3 or level 5 and just really take control of the map on the back of his strength of the creeps. So I think this will be a defense trial. And also EGM Windrunner is a relatively experienced defense support, so she just wants to be in a duel lane getting those pulls off whenever possible. And she will be doing that in this lane.
30 seconds to battle.
Meanwhile on the side, now we're going to have Puppy playing the Chikiro. Puppy, once again, as poor as a popper, as he probably pulled Dendi, probably got the courier as well. Havos is going to be piloting the Morphling. Dendi is going to be playing the Queen of Pain, and you can see Dendi was pulled quite a bit of regen by Puppy. Kuroki is going to be playing that Rubik, and Phonic is going to be taking care of that offlane Darkseer. One of the good things for Darkseer is that in the Leicester and Windrunner lane, there's not really too much that can keep Phonic back, so he should be alright going to the offlane, getting himself a lot of experience. But we'll see if he decides to get that safe level 2 in the jungle first. Meanwhile, Bulldog going to utilize his treants to try to pull the creeps, and Rubik definitely does not have enough damage, especially since Puppy is nowhere nearby to help out or help destroy these treants. So I think this treants will manage to get a successful pull, as nicely timed by Bulldog managed to get another set of treants online, as Kuroki desperately trying to kill off these treants before they can pull the creeps all the way to Admiral Bulldog's tower, but it looks like he was thwarted in that endeavor. And actually, Bulldog still has one tria in the book. He might use it to try to block off the creep camp. I think that is exactly what he's doing, as he is going to pilot this tria into a very, very safe location, trying to prevent a lot of Kuroki's arrest. And yes, he is going to use this tria to try to block off the pull. Kuroki should probably use the telekinesis to lift this tria and secure the pull. And yes, that is exactly what he's going to do. So Phonic, not too unhappy with that result, managed to get himself a safe level 2. But I don't imagine he can get too many pulls going. But he's still going to try. He's going to prevent Kuroki from getting the successful pull off. And that's just really annoying Rubik. He really is a pretty experienced defense support, even if he's not very item dependent. And he desperately needs these levels. And actually more trees are going to be used just to pull the creep wave and prevent Kuroki from getting a creep pull. So really nicely done by Admiral Bulldog thus far. He seems to have a penchant for these micro-intensive offlane heroes and has just been utilizing them to great effect, whether it be the Lone Druid or the Nature's Prophet. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Puck gonna dodge a Shadow Strike from Dendi, so nicely done by S4, but Queen of Pain's better overall damage and better attack animation means that she is winning the CS charts by just a bit. Definitely nothing to write home about, and looks like Jakiro trying to pick up whatever experience he can in the off lane so he can get Rubik as much experience as possible in the top lane, and that means Frank will be holding on to the jungle for the most part, as he is going to be stacking these jungle camps whenever possible. But Puppy really can't approach this bottom lane as securely as something like a Darkseer, because Darkseer has a search to bail him out of trouble. But Jakiro, what does he have? He has an Ice Path, but up against an Open Wounds and a Shackle Shot, that's definitely not going to be guaranteed. So Puppy not going to get too much done in this bottom lane, but I think he's mostly there not only to get himself whatever experience is possible and get Kuroki experience as possible, but also to stop early game pushes before they can really start. Is Dendi gonna have his courier shipped towards him? He is following up as Windrunner does pick up a haste rune. Looks like he's gonna make an attempt on Dendi's life, or may try to do as much harassment as possible. Dendi notices something's up as the power shot will manage to tick on Dendi, but Dendi blinks away to safety, and EGM definitely can't dive in. But S4 will pick up his bottle, so this lane for the most part is gonna be relatively even. Funnick probably a bit annoyed that this camp was mud golems, and he's just going to stack this camp once more and then probably try to kill him, as S4 adeptly dodges the gank coming in. The ice path is just a little bit off the mark, but so far Dendy is definitely going to be the linchpin in Navi's early game strategy. If he doesn't manage to get off to a fast start, that can really limit the potential on where Havos can actually farm up. And Havos is just farming out of his mind. 21 CS, 22 CS in 3 minutes means that he's pretty much last hitting every single creep that he can possibly get his hands on. Meanwhile, Bulldog has decided to retreat to the jungle, realizing that it's not as safe as it was in the top lane, since Rubik does have that point to Fable and Morphling does have enough damage on the back of his waveform to really get the kill, especially with those boost speed. So Admiral Bulldog gonna retreat, and we'll see if Alliance gonna try to concoct an early game push on the back of Bulldog retreating into the jungle, as Chen does manage to steal a Satyr Tormentor creep, has that nice damage of Shockwave, and meanwhile Loda just farming up on the bottom lane, trying to get whatever last hits he can possibly get. Will he go for the Midas like he did in the last game? That remains to be seen, as yeah, it looks like it will be a Midas, as he already has a recipe, but he does not yet have the Gloves of Haste. That is actually Admiral Bulldog's. But so far this game is going to be played very, very passively, but I expect Alliance to push sooner rather than later if they really want to get their strong early game advantage utilized to its fullest. You know, Loda gonna have that recipe delivered towards him, gonna have that Gloves of Haste picked up relatively soon, and Shen gonna utilize the Satyr Tormentor creep just to usher away Puppy for the most part. Pretty cute maneuvers by the Shen, as this creep pretty good because it has a lot of shockwaves that can clear out the creep layers, and also gives the allies creeps a nice bit of regen, although it does fade out quite a bit in the late stages of the game. And we're going to see an immediate teleport in by Funnick. What level is Funnick? What level of Ion Shell? Yes, he has level 3 Ion Shell, and I think this should be enough to combat the push in the early stages of the game, as these creeps just going to die so quickly, and there's really not too much that Alliance can do to get the push going, even with the Siege Wagon on, or pummeling this tower. So Alliance's push has been thwarted for the time being. Puppy has managed to pick himself up level 2, even if he doesn't have any farm, and it looks like Navi gonna counter the push by pushing themselves on the top lane. Both doing quite a bit of damage. Are we going to see any rebuttal by Alliance? Do the supports have teleports? We're actually going to see Bulldog teleport in, and he teleported in at such a nice moment. He saw Havos utilize the waveform and then teleported himself in, so Navi squad couldn't actually go in and try to kill him. They're going to have to wait for the waveform cooldown, which does have a relatively short cooldown, but with the creeps dying in that moment, Bulldog is going to be able to defend the tower for the time being. And this tower is actually in deny range. Bulldog gonna do some mind games, as Navi clearly knows that this tower is in deny range, and they are gonna try to scare Admiral Bulldog as far away as possible, and Bulldog simply does not have the damage. Bulldog is gonna be forced to be driven away, knows that he wouldn't be able to get the tower denied with one more last hit, and Boast will pick up the last hit, so nicely done by Navi, taking the first tower of the game against Alliance's pushing on up, and this just opens up the map for Morphling and Queen of Pain even more. You know, S4 gonna get himself an invisibility rune. Not too sure what he can accomplish with this, but I think Alliance will try to get the push going on this farm lane resumed relatively soon, because Navi getting ahead in terms of gold, and Morphling is just farming ridiculously well. And even though Alliance do have double-handed Midases, because Nature's Spot will go for that Midas build, he does want to have that level 16 up as soon as possible. They still don't really want to give Morphling any room to farm, because Morphling, his weakness is in the early game, just because it's a lot easier to kill him now that Morph costs so much mana, even if Waveform still does a ridiculous amount of damage. But once Havos makes his way towards the Linked Sphere, then the weaknesses of Morphling are essentially fixed for the most part. And actually we are going to see a smoke utilized by Alliance, but Funnick gonna dispel that smoke, as Loda gonna use Infest to kill off this creep wave ASAP, and looks like Alliance gonna try to secure themselves this tier 1 tower, but we're gonna see a rotation by Alliance to try to get Dendy in the mid lane, as Ice Path will be utilized to hold Loda in place, and this tower will be defended yet again. The Siege Wagon will get the tower deny range. This might spark the approach by Alliance, and actually there are no wards for Navi scouting out the approach of Alliance, and we are going to see Bulldog teleport himself in. Funnick gonna dodge the Shackle Shot, but here comes S4 with the Dream Coil, surging around, trying to desperately dodge from the Dream Coil break, but still too much damage being dealt. Aki does pick up the first blood on the back of his Test of Faith. Unfortunately does lose Centaur, but the tower is going to fall, the last hit is picked up by the Raiden, so that's going to be an equal amount of gold distributed evenly across Alliance's inventory. So Navi giving up first blood as well as giving up their first tower, and with Funnick being dead, this might spark another push, but Funnick already level 7, so he can actually do a lot of damage to these creeps that are pushing in. But we're going to see Noble Wounds up onto Puppy. EGM does manage to get a beautiful shackle shot, and Puppy will die on the immense power of Loda's right click damage. S4 trying to get a body block. Vacuum level 1 does manage to graze Loda, as Loda's going to be on trouble, but the Sprout will be utilized by Bulldog, and they're going to kill off Funnick yet again. Really, really nice play by Alliance in this game thus far, and they're going to apply even more pressure to this bottom tower, forcing rotation by Kuroki, trying to cut off these creeps with the Fable. But just a really, really well placed shackle shot by the Windrunner EGM. And Darkseer, overestimating his damage capacity by quite a bit, has given up his second death, and Darkseer really just does not want to die. He managed to get himself a really fast level 7 on the back of those neutral stacks, but still he wants to get that mechanism up as soon as possible, because Navi probably looking to teamfight, and Dendi doesn't have any openings to get the ganks going because Alliance are constantly grouped up as 4 or 5, and Dendi knows that his level of blink is not sufficient where he can just dive in willy-nilly and just look for isolated kills. But Morphling is still farming, uncontested on the top lane, has 71 CS in 9 minutes. This is ridiculous farm by Avost, well over 7 a minute at this point, and he is not going to be touched whatsoever, but it looks like Alliance have no intentions of ganking him. They know it's very difficult, as Queen of Pain does manage to kill a puck. I just want to see how that happened. I'm going to guess telekinesis into burst. Ice Path actually was utilized, as Navi did have a ward up on the high ground, so Sonic Wave was utilized as well, and that double damage rune allowed Dendi to pick up the kill, but Bulldog will summon some treants to try to prevent this tower from going down. But still, nice rebuttal by Navi. If Queen of Pain does want to get onto a very, very good start, they really just shut down the Blink Dagger up on Puck before Queen of Pain does manage to get an Orchid or a BKB. And if they can do that, Queen of Pain can definitely roam in uncontested for the most part and just do so much damage. But Aki using these Hellbear Smashes to single-handedly stop this push, and Kuroki manages to steal himself Wrath of Nature. Such a great spell, not only in terms of pushing the waste, but also doing a ridiculous chunk of damage to Alliance and teamfights, especially when they're fighting without a mechanism. Is Dendi gonna get open wounds low with the haste rune? Won't be able to pick up the kill. Nice awareness by Dendi, as he does manage to dodge the opposite direction of the power shot, but is forced to burn teleport in the process. Meanwhile, Vost is actually farming uncontested on the bottom lane now the wave has been pushed out to an extent on the top lane. Knows that the bottom lane farm is safer, and it's going to get a very, very fast Lincoln sphere at this rate, but all the while Alliance is looking to push in. Dire structures have already fortified, but the creeps are not even doing that much damage just yet. Midas being used by Loda, as he is going to go for the phase drum spell. It's so favored by Leicester these days, and I'm not too sure if Navi can contest this push. They only have a level 4 Jakiro at this point. Meanwhile, Alliance, I think, have the overall level advantage. Yeah, you can see all of the heroes are level 6 at this point, and Jakiro is the only non-level 6 hero. But still, it is difficult to push up against Navi, against Fable, against Iron Shell, and against Jakiro at this point. So Loda gonna retreat, and all the while Bulldog looking to apply some pressure on the top lane, has his Midas finish. Probably will go for the Shadow Wave for easier ganks, but if he goes for a Fast Orchid, I definitely wouldn't blame him up against a Queen of Pain and a Morphling. Fast Orchid could do a lot of work. And Navi actually can use an Ice Path to try to kill off that Hellbear Smasher. And killing off these trend creeps are really, really important. Not only in terms of getting yourself a nice bit of gold, but also forcing Chen back in the jungle, where he is forced to waste a bit of time just traveling to and fro from these lanes and just picking up more creeps to replace his already slaughtered creeps. But Aki, it looks like he's going to go for the Mechanism Rush rather than the Arcane Boots Rush like we saw Puppy do in that one game. And meanwhile, Admiral Bulldog applying pressure on the top lane, just playing very, very safely, actually all the way back in his fountain, and forcing a defense by Havos, but Havos will be more than happy to snatch up the CS, utilizing waveform whenever possible, and will pick up a majority of the CS. Although this tower is taking quite a bit of damage, it might get itself in deny range, but looks like it will be just outside the range when all this Siege Wagon damage is said and done. And the Siege Wagon HP, of course, being normalized in the next patch. Unfortunately for Havos, not yet normalized, and Havos does get the deny off, realizing that he might be called to defend the tower, and if he is called to defend the tower, that might spark the approach of Admiral Bullock. So just deny it rather than let the tower sit around. Even if you do want to teleport in to defend the tower, I mean, if you want it, if you're in a team fight, then that tower could essentially be free gold if Bulldog decides to make his way towards that top lane. So overall, I think that was the right decision by Havost. But that is going to give Alliance a bit of extra gold, and that is actually going to allow Aki to finish his mechanism at this point in the game. And Bulldog, what does he have going for him? He has that Shadow Limit, so he is going to go for the Shadow Blade build, which will allow him to gank very easily with the Lester as S4 trying to pilot himself in position for a Dream Call most likely, and the massive Chan army has made its way towards the middle lane. He has managed to pick up very tanky creeps, and Loda looking for the last hit, won't be able to pick it up. They give it to S4 instead, and he's getting very close to that dagger. Meanwhile, Dendy's farm has slowed significantly, and I like what Dendy's doing. Rather than going for an Orchid, recognizing the puck is probably very close towards his dagger, although Dendy has no way of knowing how close he is. Gonna go for that fast BKB, because on Alliance there's nothing that can go through BKB outside of right-click damage, which Alliance only has the Lifestealer and the Chen Creeps to rely on at this point. You know, Vost is just going to be driven away, probably going to waveform himself out to safety, although he has waveformed himself out to a very precarious situation. Morph is going to be utilized as Vost in a lot of trouble. He's going to pop the replicate, but now he's completely out of mana. Vost will be in a lot of trouble. Funnick needs to get the Surge on, otherwise Vost will surely die. Does manage to get the Surge going. Looks like he's trying to waste as much of Alliance's time as possible, and was successful with that last bit of Surge. That was cutting it very close, but Funnick timed that very nicely and allowed the committed. Maybe he was forcing out one more spell by Alliance, trying to force him to use as much mana as possible, but I would probably try to get the Surge. Maybe Surge is on cooldown as well, as it is only level 2 Surge. But Navi making the right towards the mechanism on Darkseer despite his 2 deaths. Aki, of course, looks like he's been getting the majority of the wards, and Bullock will get himself another haste rune. And Navi, once again, playing with very few wards, only has one sentry in the mid lane. Looks like a majority of their wards were counter-warded by Alliance. Not too much vision either. They don't have many wards to speak of whatsoever. Sonic Wave gonna be used, but Hand of God will be utilized as well. Meanwhile, Kuroki will blink himself in. Alliance S4 does pick up the kill, and Silence going down on Dendy. Dendy will forfeit his life. Meanwhile, Puppy will be approached. They managed to kill off S4, but they're gonna lose 3 heroes in the process, so that was definitely not worth it for Navi. As Morphling gonna go on the offensive for Aki, but Aki just way too tank. Gonna force Havost to pop his strength morph, and will he go for the kill? His waveform is cooling down very rapidly. Hand of God has already been expended, and Havost will pick up the kill nicely down on Aki, but now he's gonna have to run away from these creeps as he's gonna morph desperately to strength. Will Admiral Bullock teleport himself back into this location? We're going to see a wind run be utilized by EGM, trying to cut off Havost's retreat. He's actually going to waveform ahead, trying to pick off these creeps. Urn will be utilized, or no, that is actually strength morph, as Havost's going to be a lot of trouble. EGM taking next to no damage from Havost, but will be forced away by Puppy. Here comes Dendy, who has respawned from the grave, trying to usher away EGM. EGM will most assuredly die. The Ice Path will be enough to clean up the kill. So good recovery by Navi as they managed to get a solo kill on Morphling this early on, and that is definitely going to be very good, as they killed off the Chen, killed off the majority of the Chen creeps, and that is again going to force them in the jungle for quite a bit. And Navi, they're playing for the mid to late stages of the game. They have Darkseer, they have Morphling, very strong late game heroes, but still. Bulldog and Loda have yet to be challenged, as Lingeteer has been finished. That is going to give Havost a lot of mana regeneration, give him an extra bit of survivability. So now if he wants to start split pushing, he definitely has the capability to do just that. And there's really nothing that can stop him outside of the puck from Waning Rift. And Navi gonna group up, trying to push this tier 1 tower. Meanwhile, the tier 2 top is gonna be threatened by Bulldog as well as Loda. Gonna spark a teleport by Puppy, but he's gonna have to be careful, and he is gonna cancel the teleport as Puck does manage to claim his blink dagger. We're gonna see a teleport up top by Dendy, knowing he's a lot more mobile. Gonna be able to get that wounds off, but does get invisibility rune as Bulldog probably looking to retreat, will retreat successfully as Lola gonna get himself Shadow Strike, gonna rage teleport out of there, and there's nothing outside of Navi that can really do anything about that at this point. But Navi, they managed to claim the tower and managed to defend their tier 2. It was definitely a worthwhile trade, as Navi starting to put themselves back in the game, even though they have lost all of their tier 1 towers. And Havost with this Lingeteer are going to be so difficult to bring down at this stage, and once he makes his way towards items like Manta, Yasha, items of that nature, he'll be even more and more of a problem as he can start actually doing some physical DPS and be even more difficult to kill. Meanwhile, S4 with that blink dagger gonna blink in with Loda with him as well. Kuroki managed to steal the Dream Coil, holding S4 in place, but just too much damage being dealt by the Alliance. And Funnick actually going to roam in very, very aggressively. Havo's going to be there as well, as he managed to get the replicate off on the Nyx, but that's not really going to help him. That Nyx doesn't have the feast damage, but it looks like he managed to get the armor damage. And meanwhile, Dendi caught in a very bad position as Navi just crumbling with some mistakes, lapses of judgment, and this tower will probably be forfeited as a result. Although Darkseer has been able to respawn, is level 10, no points in the wall just yet. You want to get that max level vacuum up. But without that wall, I don't know if it's going to be a for sure bet that Navi can actually defend this tower, as opposed once again going to wait for him and trying to clear out the creep wave. Does have that replicate up and will probably replicate himself back up to base. No, decides against it. So Navi with some crucial positioning mistakes, didn't recognize that S4 had the dagger, and S4 was able to get a couple easy kills, and Dendi just roaming in at the wrong place at the wrong time, got himself slaughtered as well, and that is going to heavily delay Dendi's dagger, or Dendi's BKB. As you can see, he's had this Ogre Club for quite a bit, but has just not been able to get the farm since Vos is taking a lot of farm, and Dendi does not have too much room to farm whatsoever. So looks like Queen of Pain not going to have the biggest impact in this game. By the time she gets a Hex, it'll probably be 35 minutes in the game at this rate. But still, Navi, all they're waiting for is that team fight. And in the meantime, they're just going to farm for the Vos, as Morphling is still a very, very dangerous late game hero. And once Funnick manages to get that level and vacuum into Ice Path, and the Macro Pilot can just potentially decimate Alliance. So definitely not going to count Navi out of it just yet, even though they are behind by 5 kills. As this tower going to take a couple pot shots. Avos does have a replicate, so he's going to go in a bit more offensively. The tower is in eye range, as here comes stunned by the Centaur. Loda will be utilized as S4 going to get a huge coil up with the Waning Rift. S4 going to take on edge in responsive mechanism. What is utilized by the Darkseer? Hennigan going to be used as well. Darkseer going to be held in place for the moment, as looks like Navi looking to take this fight for the most part. Here comes Post. Did they get the tower tonight? Yes, Nature's Prophet managed to get the tower tonight. All the while, Ice Path going to be rained down, but Lord just to simply not care. Nobody on side Navi has died just yet. And here comes the Telekinesis Rubik. Gonna get surged forward as he managed to steal Waning Rift, trying to get the silence off. They're gonna kill off Loda. No, he turns on the armlet furiously. Armlet toggling. The vacuum will finish him off, but Funnick gonna have to trade his life for that. Very much worth it, as Denny gonna be in a lot of trouble. Will blink himself out to safety, as Navi, it seems like they won the fight, even though they got the tower tonight. They managed to cap Lifesteal as well as Puck. The two most important heroes are Nature's Prophet on the side of Alliance, and all it traded was support Rubik as well as a Darkseer. So Navi did very well in that fight, as opposed to just split pushing whenever he sees the opening to do just that. Gonna go for the Yasha into Mantis style most likely, although this could be a potentially casual Yasha, but I gotta imagine he's gonna straight up finish the Manta as his next item choice. And very important in that situation was that Dendy didn't die, so he actually managed to get a lot of his assist gold, and the fact that he didn't die means he's actually able to hold on to his gold for a change. So that means even though he's not farming that well, he's going to make his way towards the BKB sooner rather than later. Meanwhile, Loda looks like he's going to go straight into the Basher build, favored by so many lifesteals, and the eternal torment of any carry player when he died his minus was going to be off of cooldown, so he's missing valuable points in the minus, as meanwhile the creep going to get the D ward, and actually Chen forced to plant another sentry ward just to counter ward that D ward. So very, very unfortunate for Chen. That is arguably not worth it, but I guess Chen, he's just rolling in the books. I mean, what other items does he really need at this point? Probably wants to make his way towards an eventual Ghost Scepter, but still, Navi not really doing that much physical damage at this point. And Denny's actually been able to finish the BKB a lot sooner than I anticipated. I guess he was holding out to Mithril Hammer when I was not paying attention. Funnick, not too much gold, but has been able to get 2 points in the wall. So now it's going to be very, very difficult for Alliance to actually push in, since the teamfight of Navi is just getting underway. Jakiro actually recently farmed, has a medallion as well as an urn, so if Navi managed to get enough map control, they can potentially net themselves a Roshan. But all the while, the top tower was not contested whatsoever. Navi clearly anticipating maybe a Nature's Prophet or Puck gank, since they have no vision on the map in their jungle, decide to just give up the tower rather than risk it. Meanwhile, Wrath of Nature constantly being utilized to push out the waves. Kuroki looks like he's doing the majority of the warding at this point. Probably going to try to make his way towards the dagger, but I mean, realistically, what spell do you want to steal? Dream Coil and Shackle Shot are probably the best spells you can possibly steal, but still, that doesn't require a Blink Dagger to get the positioning going, because those are reasonably long range spells in comparison to something like an RP, which is pretty short range in comparison. Checking out the gold graph, you can see the Alliance definitely have the edge as they have been able to get more towers just by one, but they have 2 Henemices compared to Navi's 0. The experience graph pretty much identical to the gold graph as both show a surplus of 4k advantage on both fronts, but still, it is difficult fighting up against Navi, up against a Darkseer, and a Morphling who's getting more and more farmed, and Vost has not died just yet. Is going to make his way towards 200 CS at 23 minutes in the game. Ridiculous farm by Vost, around 8 to 9 CS per minute. This is pretty much optimal farm, and Vost has been fighting in a couple of fights here and there. Meanwhile, I want to check on Bulldog as here comes a blink in by S4, does manage to get a Dream Call. Loda was in there with S4 once again. They are able to isolate Puppey. Meanwhile, Dendi gonna get sieged upon by Loda, was forced to pop a BKB defensively. Meanwhile, Sonic Wave will be utilized as well. Loda now gonna be back into the fray. Will manage to get himself a kill onto Funnick, and that will force the imminent retreat of Kuroki as well as Dendi. Morphling gonna join the engagement, but still not doing that much damage. Wing Rift gonna be utilized on Dendi, who does have Ace Rune. Test of Faith ushering Havost away, and that is gonna cancel Lincoln's here as Admiral Bulldog is now next in the fight. EGM gonna take a lot of damage. His open wound was stolen by Kuroki, and they will be able to clean up EGM at the very least, so they managed to get something. Meanwhile, Aki could potentially fall. It looks like Alliance are fighting with very, very low mana pool. Meanwhile, Armor Toggle will isolate Puppey. Loda just going on a spree, and this is the strength of last year. This is why he's so powerful in these games. Just able to constantly get so much damage out whenever possible, and looks like all of Aki's creeps will probably die. Yes, Dendi with Havost will be able to successfully kill off these creeps, but still, I'm not too sure who that fight fared, but Dendi might get picked off. One more right click by S4 should do it. Dendi, oh, just tried to blink away, but that casting animation to blink a moment too long. And when all is said and done, I do have to favor that victory for our Alliance. As just a very, very unfortunate engagement, and I think Navi's lack of wards are really punishing them. That is just allowing S4 to get these beautiful lifesteal initiation bombs in conjunction with the Dream Call, and the fact that Puck has just been able to farm so well means he's making his way towards the Hex very, very rapidly. And that is definitely something to be worried about. Even though Morphling is ridiculously survivable, it still will be a problem for that Hex. Meanwhile, Morphling around 720 gold away from finishing that Manta style, trying to make his way towards that. And I don't know, it might be time for Morphling to split push, but still, it is dangerous up against a Puck and a Nature's Prophet with the Shadow Blade as Nature's Prophet making his way towards the Hex, and I gotta imagine after that fight that is gonna give Alliance a huge experience and gold lead. And Navi, the potential of going for a team fight lap in conjunction with the Morphling split pusher means that they don't really have too much backup to protect the Morphling unless they all group up, and if they do that, then Bulldog can just split push another lane, S4 can split push another lane. It's just very, very dangerous. But Dendi, now with that BKB back online, is going to be feeling a bit more brave, so it looks like he's going to do some split pushing of his own. EGM has finished the 4 staff, so he's pretty farmed for a support winner. Aki has just been warding it up, still not holding on to too much gold. Manta style has been finished by the Morphling at this point. S4 again going for the Hex. Bulldog will have the Hex up in about 950 gold. So that will definitely be a problem, as even though Dendi has BKV and Morphling has Lincolns, the fact that Alliance could potentially get double Hexes up relatively soon means that Lincolns could be irrelevant at this point. And even if Lincolns dispels a Hex, there's still another Hex and a Shackle Shot to worry about, so there are a lot of mechanisms to hold Morphling in place. And Morphling definitely wants to get another damage at him before he starts even considering a BKV choice, because right now he's just not doing any damage in comparison to Lifesteal and Navi, knowing that they're not in a very comfortable position, going to choose to smoke up, but all the while Alliance looking to seize his tower as Funnick doesn't want to reveal the smoke just yet. Alliance going to be in a dangerous situation, but they have S4 in a very, very open position. Here comes the initiation by Kuroki, but the Silence Dagger going to be utilized. Once again, Dendi will get a Sonic Wave. It only manages to catch one, but Chen will be the first one to fall. Jakiro going to die as well. Loda just not being touched at this point. Avos can't man up by himself. He's going to have to get the heck out of there, going to relocate himself up to safety, as Lifesteal just does way too much damage in conjunction with the Nature's Prophet, and that is going to be a 2-for-1 engagement for Navi, even though they got a pretty solid vacuum wall. The Sonic Wave only managed to catch one, and Funnick looks like he will die. Couldn't get the vacuum up onto this cliff, just a little bit outside the range, and Funnick just not having a good time whatsoever. And this is going to allow Alliance to go in for the Roshan, and there's really not too much Navi can do about this. The creeps are pushed into such an extent, except on the bottom lane, and the spawn tower won't actually fall before the Roshan has been taken. And Loda has managed to secure himself up in Abyssal. Every Bulldog gets a Scythe of Ice all at the same time, and this is going to allow Alliance just to take these team fights even more convincingly. So Loda, as if he needed more survivability, get himself an Aegis. And it is already incredibly difficult for Navi to actually focus down Leicester, which is why they choose not to focus him down. It's going to be even more trouble because he has an Aegis now, and Havos, all he has to his name is a Manta Style, and if you look at the net worth, Morphling is doing reasonably well. Havos has played pretty solidly, but Navi has just not been able to get the execution going, and Havos has just not been able to get a split push going. It's just very dangerous for him to split push up against Alliance's incredible mobility in the form of Puck and Nature's Prophet. Jakiro does manage to get the Nigh off in the middle tower, but still, that's not really going to phase Alliance too much. They already have so much gold to play around with, and Puck making his way towards his own Hex. As Dendy going to find himself hexed up, he's going to die. The Abyssal Blade being used just for the heck of it. It has a reasonably short cooldown, all things considered, 1 minute. Will definitely be up by the time Alliance does manage to go for the base. Well, maybe not, since Alliance looks like they're going to head towards the base right now. And Avost, again, not choosing to split push out, even though he is a Morphling. Just really does not feel comfortable in pushing out by his lonesome at this point in the game. Darkseer really needs a crucial vacuum wall, and the Ice Path really needs to hit on everybody engaged under the Macro Power. If Navi manage to get that, they can potentially team wipe Alliance, but Alliance have just had such good movement and such good mobility that they're never really caught in that position. Ice Path, once again, going to whiff. Vacuum going to be utilized, going to suck them in the Ice Path, but the Ice Path actually going to get dispelled, and the Macro Power has already been utilized. Here comes Vost, going to go on the offensive, now in a lot of trouble, as he is surrounded by trees. He is going to take so much edge, looks like he is going to die to one last test of faith by Aki. Supreme Cold going to be utilized by S4, as Corky going to take so much edge. S4 going to be healed up by the hand of God. Lifesteal does kill off the Jakiro, and meanwhile Dendy getting bashed over and over and over and over again. The wall being utilized a second too late, as I guess it was on cooldown. Funnick going to die, and Navi's just crumbling under the pressure. Vost overestimated his survival capabilities, and he paid the price, and that just sparked a really messy team fight for Navi, and messy team fights is definitely what Navi don't need. They need to have well executed team fights with the Darkseer Jakiro combination. And they didn't even get the Aegis off of Loda. All they managed to get was a puny Puck, as EGM gonna be in a bit of trouble, but the wall wears off at the worst time. Dendy flinging himself on out of there, but Kuroki could be in a bit of trouble. No, Alliance took the mid racks, or took the mid melee barracks, gonna be satisfied with that. And Navi just looking in incredibly poor shape. As they have a Morphling, they can potentially come back, but Morphling has just not been able to get the split push going whatsoever. Bulldog just shows you why Morphling has become irrelevant, as Bulldog can do everything that Morphling can do, but better, as he can get himself to more team fights and get more safe farm. As Zavos going to get himself into a bit of a sticky situation. The Manta was forced out, as Loda could be in a bit of trouble. They're going to focus down Bulldog instead, noticing that Loda has the Aegis. They're going to successfully kill off Bulldog, but Abyssal Blade onto Dendy. Going to mean the death of Dendy. He's popping his BK, but still one more click by Loda will secure the kill. Loda going to be forced to utilize his Aegis. If not he killed his Aegis, this could be the spark of getting themselves back in game. Loda will get caught by the Ice Path, but here comes S4 with another 3-man Cold. Does get the silence, and there's just not enough damage to kill off Loda. He does pop the Rage, and Vos being ushered away for the umpteenth time. Really can't do anything. Does manage to replicate him out to safety, but still, Alliance did not lose anybody. All they lost is an Aegis. Kuroki being driven away. He's definitely gonna die. Has no mobility items whatsoever. Just trying to do whatever good damage he can possibly do. And it looks like Alliance are making their way towards a very solid victory. And Navi just not having a good time in this game whatsoever. Alliance just with a really solid execution, gonna overpower Navi as they're looking to take down the middle or the bottom barracks. The golden experience advantage coming on almost unable to be overcome, as Funnick once again getting himself shackled, and he is gonna pay the price for his positioning. They're gonna kill off Bulldog, but still, Loda gonna avenge his fallen friend as he is just right-clicking with the best of them. Havos being bashed in place as he is trying to go for a helmet dagger, but still, there's not much he can do. EGM just doing a bit of friendly fountain farming. Loda knows that he's just so difficult to kill. Can Violet can get boots chop if he really feels the need to, but still, that requires him dying, which Loda seems like he has no intentions of doing. Gonna bash Havos to death, and Havos doesn't have enough money for Bayek. This should be GG, as all we're waiting for is Navi to tab out. GG, well played, is called by Havos. And Alliance, once they got a bit of momentum, they rolled with it, and I gotta say, it was Loda and S4 more than anything else. The Dream Coil blinks by S4 just really shut down Navi's supports. The fear installed into the hearts of Havos as well as Dendi by the nature spot as well as the puck blinking around just really prevented them from split pushing, and the lifesteal initiations by Loda. And the fact that he just armlet toggled so beautifully means that he just never got into a dangerous situation. He only died once. And GPM almost 700 for Lester, who didn't get that much CS all things considered. But 17-17 is definitely a score that you can write home about. As Alliance is going to claim this best 3 series. Hopefully you enjoyed this, as this game was definitely more exciting in my opinion. But still, I'll be back with more matches relatively soon. Thanks for watching, and hopefully y'all enjoyed it. I'll be streaming pretty much every night this week for a couple hours at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 a.m. CET, so you know that is a bit early. Hopefully you can find it in your hearts to watch the stream. Please follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. But hopefully you enjoy that game. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.